Sheesh. Oh my goodness. What is going on today? I'm out here in the garage where I have this engine that's been sitting on the stand for probably a year now. So I got this engine off Marketplace. This is a Gen 4 4.8, I believe. So I think this is a LY2. So it has flat top pistons, high compression pistons, 243 heads, which are the same heads I had on the 5.3 and the Firebird. I think these are some good heads with the 2-inch intake valve. And it also has the bread box intake, Gen 4. So it has the bigger connecting rods, stainless fuel rail, a little bit bigger throttle body. So it does have some desirable stuff. So what I've started doing is cleaning it. Well, first thing I did was I took the valve covers off and did a compression test and stuff like that. So it does have compression, and it's really, there's no carbon under the valve cover that I could find, so that's a good start. So I'm going to continue with it. The only thing I can hope for is that it has good oil pressure and the lifters are okay. But it's not a DOD engine. It doesn't have the AFM or displacement on demand. So the next thing I'm going to do is I've started descaling, cleaning and painting. So I've already done like 2 out of 3 sides of the block. I'm not doing the oil pan, I'm not doing the heads, I'm just doing the block. It's an iron block. So I've already done the front side there, and I've already done the driver's side. It's dark over here, but I've already cleaned and painted 2 out of 3 sides. So I'm just working on this here before I put the, I've got some parts, like I've got a new oil pan that fits the cars. So I figured before I put the new oil pan and stuff on, I would go ahead and clean and paint the block a little bit. So I've just been using some basic, like a wire wheel on a drill, screwdriver to knock off some of the crust. And then I actually started using a hammer drill because I don't have like a descaler. So I had a hammer drill with like a flat bit on it, and it actually works pretty good for knocking some of the chunks off if there's any chunks of rust or whatever. So that's about where I'm at right now. So I've got like several different flavors of wire wheels here. They fit on the drill. I actually had 2 drills out here because this one here is the hammer drill. And I've got just a flat bit on here, pretty simple. But the hammer drill vibrates or whatever when you push on it, and that kind of works for knocking off the big chunks or the stuck scale or whatever. And then the rest I've mostly just been using like wire brushes and wire wheels and a little bit of brake cleaner from Canadian Tire to get any grease or oil residue off. Just like any paint job, the prep work is the biggest part usually, and this is no exception. So the more time you put into prep, probably the better it'll turn out. And I've spent hours on the engine so far on the other sides, so I'm probably going to spend at least an hour on this side just cleaning it and descaling it and degreasing it and just getting it ready for paint. And then it only takes 2 minutes to paint. Wrinkle Plus. I call this Wrinkle Effects. But this is the product I'm using. Wrinkle finish, durable texture coating. And you just gotta watch out for these. There's the poop emoji, the pirates, and the meteorites. So you just extreme danger for the poop emojis and the pirates and the meteorites. But other than that, this is this is one of my favorite products for doing this type of thing. What I like about this product is it dries with a texture to it, and the texture is pretty good at like hiding imperfections, and the casting has a bit of a texture to it, so it just works. Just matches the casting and hides imperfections and looks good, and it's a high temperature product, so it's probably one of my favorites for doing this. Okay, I've literally spent hours scrubbing the rust and everything off this side. I'm pretty sure this side was the worst. So it was kind of crusty, but I think I've got it relatively smoothened out and got most of the rust scale off. So I'm hitting it with some brake clean. I'm using that to degrease it before I put any paint or anything on there. Okay, I got the first coat on there, and I tried to do a light coat, but I like to go for full coverage, so somewhere in between somewhere in between a light coat and full coverage. So I masked off the aluminum head because I didn't want to paint that. Of course, I ended up getting some overspray on there anyway, but I'm sure that'll come off. But yeah, I was just focusing on the block, on the rusty iron block. I'm going to be changing the oil pan, so I'm not too worried about that. And I didn't want to paint the heads, so I masked them off. But yeah, that's what she's looking like. I'll probably put one more coat on, but I'm going to wait till it's, right now it's kind of shiny, so I can tell when it's somewhat cured because it dries with a texture to it, this stuff. So it's a little bit too shiny right now, almost like it's still wet. So I'm gonna wait for a bit before I put the second coat on. Alright, I just finished applying the second coat of the VHT Wrinkle Plus high temperature paint. So I'm just waiting. This is the final side. I did the front side first, and then I did the driver's side, and so this is the passenger side here. And I'm not too worried about the oil pan. I masked off the heads, just focusing on the block. I do have a new oil pan to fit the application. So far I'm pretty happy with the progress. It's been time consuming. A lot of the prep work has been very time consuming, but I've just been plugging away at it in my spare time, or spend like 20 minutes after work on it here and there. And I am going to clean up the valve covers and the top end. I am going to change the oil pan on the bottom end. I got some shiny stainless headers to try on. I just got to figure some motor mounts and wiring, transmission. And this is going to be probably going in the Camaro. Well, the second coat looks like it's pretty much dry. And yeah, looks pretty good. Starting to get that texture when it dries. And that's pretty much it. I could probably do the rear shelf as well, but I did the front side and then both passenger and driver's side of the iron block. So it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. That's for sure. She was pretty crusty. Still need to clean up the top end or whatever, but I might end up painting those valve covers like I did on the Firebird. Might probably use the same product if I do. So far so good, she's coming along. I think I'm gonna do the oil pan next. I got the No Name Holley oil pan, or the Holley clone, the China clone. So I'll be putting that on here shortly. And I think I have to do the pickup tube as well. So yeah, that's where we're at. I've put several coats on all the parts I've done so far. This is the only part I wasn't too sure about. I had planned on ordering or using a different gasket because I wasn't too sure about this Chinese gasket. Some people say they have used them successfully, so I don't know, I might try it. I'd hate to get this in the car and then have issues with it anytime later, because the oil pan, you'd have to pull the engine. You'd have to remove the engine to drop the oil pan or change this gasket, I believe. But I might just try it. I might put some black, ultra black RTV on it or something, some gasket maker, and I might give it a shot. Maybe it'll work. So I was gonna order like a Felpro gasket or something, but I just called the auto parts yesterday and they're asking $100 for a gasket. So I don't know if I need one that bad or not. Like I said, some people have used these successfully. Maybe I'm just being overly cautious. The China stuff's not that bad nowadays. Actually, some of it comes from the same factory, so it's hard to say. I think I might give it a shot and just put some RTV on it or something just in case.